to write about. Trying to figure out what it's all about. Existentialist. Am I worth anything or just a scout? I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. Spending time all alone, sending my songs to the phone, dreaming of a better home, we want focused on trying to hone this craft, witchcraft. I hope the brujas last.
I don't know if the earth is painted blue.
That was the great sounds of Watson with Outside on WNHH-LP 103.5 FM New Haven. Myself, Prestige, with my partner in crime, Long Island raised, Elm City made, EZ Bluez is unfortunately not in the building today. He's handling, Easy Blue stuff, but he'll be back in the next broadcast. But the show must go on. But I have a great guest here on Behind the Brand. Easy Bluez normally does the great and powerful introduction, so I'm going to try my best. But if I don't hold up to value, please correct me if I'm wrong, sir, because I'm really excited to have you on this broadcast. We have an entrepreneur, great gentleman. I actually had a 1.5 minute conversation with him, which was really awesome. That actually wanted me to get him on the program. He had a little booth right on New York Comic Con. I went downstairs where all the great artists were. Like, you saw amazing concept, just diversity and just good culture downstairs. So we're downstairs in the whole artist pathway that I was on. And I talked to him. I was asking about his book, how much was it for sale? And then he jokingly told me that it was sold out. It was sold out as soon as I walked down the stairs. I saw the sign. I went right to the sign where it said Harriet Tubman Demon Slayer. Went right to his booth. He said, I wish I can help you, but all sold out. And the only thing I can say is great news. That's really great, especially for an independent comic book maker like yourself. He's an entrepreneur. He's a good person. He's been doing this for a very, very long time now. Everybody, please stand up and clap for this man. Only if you're driving, do not do that. Easy Blue says a little bit better than I do it. But we have the great David Crownson with us on Behind the Brand. How you doing, man? How you doing?
I'm doing great. I'm doing great. And thank you. And I don't. If you are driving, you better stand up. No, I'm kidding. I'm totally kidding. Risk your life to applaud me. No, I'm doing great, man. Thank you.
Awesome, man. Awesome. I'm really happy to have you here. And let's just start off with just a generic question, man. Why did you want to do this? What made you want to create your own stories and give it out to the public?
Well, I wanted to create Harriet Tubman Demon Slayer primarily to scare racist white people. That was the whole. I'm kidding. I'm kidding, but I'm not kidding. But I wanted to create my own stories. It started because I could have more say and more control over the narrative of how my books are even put out, and even the time of when my books are put out. Like, I remember, this is before the pandemic, I had been in talks with other big publishers, like big name publishers. I won't say who. But, it was primarily, like white editors and white-owned publications. And I remember they wanted to kind of water down my comic. I remember this editor was a white woman, and she just said, like, hey, like, your book is too much fun and has too much action in it. And I was like, what? I was like, what did she just say? And she just also said, hey, we need to have more scenes of Harriet, being whipped, and we need more character development.
Wow.
And I, in my head, I'm like, as Black people who, we watch TV, we push like the mainstream, when it comes to media. I think especially, I want to be sensitive to the fact that, like, this is a comic book with slavery in the background, and slavery not just in the background, it's also still happening in the story. It's at the forefront. So I'm like, I think we've seen enough stories of us being traumatized and us being whipped. So I wanted to, like, do something else and do something different. So it was that thing as well. I had more control and more say, and not kind of having to be a yes man for my own creation. I can kind of do and operate how I want. It's me and my editor, who I get along with,
Right.
kind of working to make a good story. So, yeah,
Absolutely. And when you think about it, it'll just totally ruin the whole vision if you would agree to do that. And one other thing, if you would agree to do that too, that's just totally just ruins the whole creativity path. Your mental thing will just wholly be off, and that's the last thing you want, especially doing your own creation. You don't want anybody telling you what to do and finger pointing, and it'll just ruin the whole product, especially the book. And I doubt you'll have the fan base you have if you would have done that.
exactly. Like they probably would have paid me a little bit of money, but the integrity of the book would have been lost, and it would have been like a Diet Coke version. Like worse than like a Diet Coke version.
It would have been a Coke Zero.
Yeah, it would have been a Coke Zero, no sugar, no sugar. It would have been a seasonless meal. It was like a seasonless meal, like not an ounce of seasoning on this fried chicken. Just the driest, no gravy, no good stovetop, dry mac and cheese. It would have been terrible. But sorry. But yeah, but also just kind of going back to like thinking about people who own their own stuff. There's something about that, like people who like I think I was watching like a documentary about like the Image Comics people, and like Todd McFarlane and like Jim Lee, Robert Kirkman, like they own all the rights to their stuff, and they all just seemed like happier, because of it. And I just wanted to, for like the first couple of years of doing the comic, I owned everything and I was putting it out, but like the idea of having to give it up and have someone else control it, it kind of bummed me out a little bit. Or if I was giving away a certain amount of control, would it be with someone who has identical ideas similar to mine and can enhance it? And the case was always no. So I'm like, man, I think I'm just gonna, start my own publishing company. This logo.
And I was gonna lead into that, man. Was that the transition of you wanting to start your own company of Kingswood Comics?
Yeah, like it happened. I think I was with another publisher during like during the start of the pandemic, and I had just been going through like different big name publishers. One publisher, again, wanted to water down my comic. Another publisher thought it was too risky and thought it might make Black people upset and make Black people feel sad. I think it was what he basically said, like, hey, we want to do something that's going to make Black people happy. And I'm like, wait, so you think like a comic book about Harriet Tubman like killing racist demons is going to make Black people sad? So, and like you just sat in silence. And, I didn't work with that person. But yeah, I just kind of, this was like around the time where we're all locked in, we're all in lockdown, and we're all inside, and like it was really scary. People are dying, and it's this invisible thing, and we're all wearing face masks everywhere. And I think I was with this other publisher, and I wasn't happy, and I had all the rights. I hadn't signed anything yet,
right?
And I just got fed up because I think it was a really condescending experience. And they weren't really doing anything for me anyway. I mean, I was still learning from them, but I'm like, man, this is not the move. And I'm like, I gotta something. And I was always scared to start my own thing because this is a lot of work. It's a lot of risk and a lot of like learning the ins and outs of the business of it, when I just wanted to be focused on the creativity aspects of it. I'm like, yeah, I just want to sit in my own office and write my story and then put it out. But even with that, like they might say, hey, you can't put this out on Juneteenth because we have our other book that happens to be coming on Juneteenth. And I'm like, no, but I have a specific reason why I want my comic Harriet Tubman Demon Slayer to come out on Juneteenth, because it's a very Black thing. And they're like, what's Juneteenth? And I'm like, I have to leave. I'm like, oh no, I have to get out of here. So yeah, I think I just kind of sat down with myself quietly, and this is, I think, important for creatives to have like a close inner circle of people that they trust. Like it has to be a very small inner circle, you know, like my mom, my friend and editor Sharonda, my friend, like two or three of like my closest best friends, my girlfriend, and like my girlfriend, depending if she actually yes, my girlfriend recently joined the inner circle because she likes Insecure and Curb Your Enthusiasm at the same time. I'm kidding. She's great. But no, like just having like a very close inner circle of people who you trust and who are team you. I think all creatives, I think all human beings, but mostly creatives, need that, because like this journey is hard, man. It is difficult, it is heavy, but it won't be as heavy if you have great people by your side.
Oh, absolutely, man. You need those tight-knit group of people. And it can even be as small as, just as you said, about 2, 3, 4 heads, just encouraging you the right way, being that positive light at the end. Because one thing just about your whole project and just what you're doing right now with your life, and especially with your career, is you're doing this on your own. And it can be very troubling. Just trying to get that out there. And I know how a lot of people say, I don't really care what people think about my product, but you want people to appreciate what you do. Like you take back that constructive criticism when just posting out your product. And that's one thing just like I like about your booth and just numerous booths. I mean, just going there for this was my very first Comic-Con in New York. Just going out there and just seeing so many creatives, and the best part about it, creatives that look like us, just going out there and just like posting their product and just telling about their stories. And it wasn't like they were making like a Black Captain America or a Black Spider-Man or any of those things. They're making their own stories with their own characters, like you're doing right now, and switching the narrative. You know what I'm saying? Like, we don't have to make copycat versions of Black characters. We can make our own stories and our own heroes, and that's a great thing to see. It really got me inspired, just as a broadcaster and as an interviewer, just going out to different people and just knowing their worlds and just exploring their minds and sharing their story. And I felt you shared your story a lot in New York Comic-Con, just with me and those 3 people that were around me, brother. So you were just definitely just inspiring just to see. And you were just alone in the booth, which was just the amazing part.
I had like my one friend who was helping me out with the company. He might have like gone to have a cigarette break or something like that. His name is also David Gazzo. But yeah, man. It is sometimes can be a lonely journey. Sometimes, but like. But again, you got to have like that close group, like 2 or 3 people who know everything. Like, they know your ups, they know your downs, they know the cool stuff that hasn't been announced yet. They know about like your private like struggles too. Yeah. And I just think it's insanely important. And because I think if I didn't have like, you know, my friends, like my mom, kind of like, you know, I'm a spiritual man. I believe in prayer. I believe in God. You know, being close to all of that, you know, I probably would have quit on like month 2 of doing this.
Without that close net support system just behind you, like if you didn't have those people, you would not know where you would be at today. We wouldn't know if we 2 would have met if you would have had those people behind you. Exactly.
Yeah. You know, so yeah, keep that group, I mean, I think I call them like the group five. Keep your group five, everybody. Find 5 people you like trust with your life, and hold them close and tight. But yeah, man, like in New York City, Comic Con was great because I had a lot of anxiety going into New York City Comic Con because it's our first time back.
Yeah.
And, I mean, it's great because like I have more comics and stuff. But like, are my comics gonna sell? Or are people going to? You never know how it's going to go. But then, like, people come in, they're like, "Oh, this looks cool," and something that was just a thing that I thought was cool in my head at like 2 a.m. randomly. People like it and they gravitate toward it, and I'm insanely grateful for it because like I've seen books that I think are great. But they might either be collecting dust somewhere and no one's buying them, and I'm like, why is this? And we never know. We never know why someone likes something or dislikes something.
Sure.
All you can do is just sit with when it comes to creating any art. Just make sure you love it. Make Absolutely. Sure you love it, and make sure you're fully invested in the process of making it. Because you don't control like how many people are going to buy it, and you don't control you don't really that's kind of out of your control. You can hope for the best and try to sell it as much as possible and sell yourself and sell your story, but yeah, I think it's just kind of enjoying the process of creating the said thing. Like that's where the gold is, and that's where the juice and like the love is. Like I think my girlfriend's also a writer, and we were just talking about writing the other day,
right?
And she was just she said something which she probably got from me. That's right. No, she was just talking about like she's like, yeah, when I'm writing, I don't know what's up with me, but I feel like I don't care what people think, and I'm just kind of just focused on just creating. I'm not like self-editing or doing any of that stuff.
Right.
And I'm focusing on the creating part of it. And I'm like,
that's
yeah.
an important part. It really is an important part. I mean, your vision has to be true to you, in my opinion. You really can't care what people think to an extent. You can correct me if I'm wrong because you are a writer and you make these stories for your audience. I believe you really have to just go out there and try to get yourself outside the box as much as possible. I think that's the most important thing you can do just as a creator, because if you're constantly worrying what people think and going down the path, it's just going to be in a dark road for you mentally, and you don't really want that, because like honestly, if people really do appreciate you, they'll come to you. They really do come to you, and they really will definitely get that reception that you would want, honestly, generally. You know what I'm saying? Especially we do appreciate that as we get older, in my opinion.
And also like, and I mean, I still care essentially what people think, like a little bit, right. But again, it's having that like there's a Phil Lord and Chris Miller. They're the guys that wrote Spider-Verse. They wrote 21 Jump Street. They wrote Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs. Like there's something that they do with all their screenplays that I love, right. And I'm gonna do the same thing too at some point, where they call all of their close friends who are writers and directors and actors, and not only like friends, like people that they love and trust, and are also like they're fans of their work, and they make them read their script at a table read and then offer notes, afterwards, because they
take these mental notes, David, on WNHHLP 103.5 FM New Haven, myself, Prestige, with our great guest, David Crownson. If I ruined your train of thought, I deeply apologize on Behind the Brand. Go right ahead.
Yeah, no, you're good. I was like, look at the time. I was like 12:21. But like no, like but yeah, like I think just having like I have like I have my editor, but like I sometimes will have my friends like, yo, can you read this? I just want to like see what you think and like get their first taste on it.
Right.
because you can create in a vacuum, but eventually this is going to be a thing that people like read. Or when it comes to any art, people are going to listen to it. They're going to watch it. They're going to read it. So it's like, all right, I've done all I can with this child. Let me like baby steps it into the future. You know, right. Get babysitters and see what all these babysitters, how they feel about my child. And then take it from there and hope for the best. So they say, hey, like, you know, your child probably needs to wear a belt or something, like, I don't know. You're like, yeah, your child's great, but like, you know, that they probably should have like matching clothes or something like that. I don't know. But yeah, that's what I love about Fuller and Chris Miller. They still like, you know, what I love about them, they say that they're arrogant as human beings, but they're insecure as artists.
Is it safe to say that those guys are your influences?
Yeah. Okay. In a big way. Like, I love how they, because they've taken stories that I'm like, I don't care about this, or this is probably going to be silly. Like Clyde with a Chance of Meatballs. Like, oh, what an amazing heartfelt movie with heart, and it's funny. Or like, hey, we're gonna reboot 21 Jump Street, and you might go, oh my god, this is like why? And it's Jonah Hill, like this is going to be dumb. Like, and then like, oh, and these guys, it was their first time doing a live action movie. And I'm like, oh, this is gonna be dumb. I'm like, oh, this was hilarious, and this was a great movie. And then 22 Jump Street, another hilarious, amazing movie with a lot of heart to it.
Scenarios that you're telling me, David, did they teach you a lot about approach when it comes to the story, especially when it coming to your artwork of Harriet Tubman Demon Slayer?
Yeah, because at first when you hear like Harriet Tubman Demon Slayer, you know, it's funny, or people might think, or like, oh, it's funny, or oh, this is stupid. But I'm like, I really gotta. For me, I wanted to make Harriet a three-dimensional person and kind of go hard on this, like I'm doing a straight up biography. I wanted to really, for it not to be like, oh, the icon that is Harriet Tubman. I wanted it to be, this is a human being whose name happens to be Harriet, who had these human experiences, and her sense of humor and the nuance of like, what am I doing? Am I like what if someone dies? Because at this point in time, like, Harriet Tubman doesn't know she's Harriet Tubman. She's like, yeah, my name's Harriet. And
Dave, I love how you're going with this and with the transition. I'd just like to ask you this question for those who are unaware and just tuning into this broadcast for the very first time. Give us a little background with not giving any spoilers, because I want people to buy your product and support you. Just a little bit of the narrative, what the novel is about, and just a little bit about the background characters and a little story. Just give people like a little synopsis. Go right ahead.
Yeah, Harriet Tubman Demon Slayer is, based on the true life of Harriet Tubman with a twist. What if Harriet Tubman knew martial arts and had superhuman strength, and demons and witches and werewolves all exist, and Harriet Tubman is the chosen one to lead slaves to freedom and battle an army of darkness? And that's basically it. It's Django Unchained meets Buffy. And the part of Harriet Tubman's true life story that I've adapted and set and focused on for this series is, there was a time when Harriet Tubman's identity leaked, and people had no idea that it was a black woman who was doing this. The people thought this entire time that, okay, it has to be a white man who's stealing these slaves, or maybe it's a white man in blackface.
Right.
All right. Maybe it's a Negro male doing this. But then they found out that it was a illiterate 4'11" black woman, and they lost it. like, oh, like this woman's been outsmarting us for years, and like, and her name's what? Because I think her code name was Moses, so they thought it was a man, and people racist as hell. Moses, it has to be a white man who's doing this. That's a white sounding name. But they found out it was a black woman. It was Harriet Tubman. So they lost it and went crazy and put a bounty on her head for like thousands of dollars, which with inflation, I think there was a rumor that it was proven false, where it was like $40,000 or like $800 to bring her down. With inflation today, it's like a couple $1 million to bring this person. Like, they wanted her bad. There was bounty hunters like after her. So in my comic, I'm like, oh, what if those bounty hunters were like werewolves and like vampires and demons and like witches all hunt her down? And we kind of changed the narrative just a little bit that like these white slave owners can't stop her because she has superhuman strength and knows martial arts. So they have to kind of like depend on and team up with this ancient demon. And there's all that ancient demon has ulterior motives as well. And basically a whole entire army of like witches, werewolves, vampires are all like chasing Harriet Tubman. And Harriet Tubman has to like lead this family of slaves to freedom while battling all of this stuff at the same time. It's the ultimate like road trip like movie. and it's like the stakes like get higher with each chapter. Like things like stuff goes wrong, in every single issue, and the stakes just keep on rising. Yeah. And
so our audience, how many issues did you do so far for this masterpiece?
Thank you for calling it a masterpiece. So far, there's 5 issues. Issue 6 is available for pre-order. It's coming out very soon.
Awesome.
We had to, I think, we're like in the very final stages. Then we just send it to printer. So like, there's 6 issues currently, and I plan on doing 200 issues because we still have to we're in the very early days of this comic.
Okay.
Like, we still have to cover the Civil War. We still have to cover. We haven't even met Abraham Lincoln yet.
Wow.
Like a lot of stuff is going to happen. I think we're in like, my book takes place like 5-6 years before slavery is abolished. So like, a lot is going to happen in these next like couple of years in the comic. But yes.
Yeah. Now, I wanted to let you finish talking. I didn't want to interrupt. I didn't want to be rude. But just with all this information that you told me, has this inspired fans to actually look up more on Harriet Tubman? Have they told you stories of what she did and how much she accomplished and how much that she did for us? That fans ever told you about that when they talked to you?
Yes. I think there was when I first announced that I was doing this comic, I had a lot of hate. And I felt terrible because it was a lot of hate from our own people.
Wow. Okay.
It was like I was expecting hate from like a bunch of like dusted white people. I'm like, all right, it's gonna be like I expected you not to like Harriet Tubman Demon Slayer, but I think it was mostly black people who were like mad and angry, and I was like, what? No. I think they said like, hey, listen, but I think now with perspective, looking back on it, we hadn't had a Harriet Tubman movie. We hadn't had Harriet Tubman even in media when the comic came out. The only thing we had that was made was,
I think it was the movie, right? It was the movie that they did with Harriet, I think a couple years ago, I believe.
Yeah. Well, this even before that, so, like someone made a like disturbing video about Harriet Tubman. It rhymes with born. That's all I will say on that. And it was Russell Simmons who made this as a joke. And I'm like, I was just like, wait, what? And that's the only thing that we had on Harriet Tubman. And even before that, this is a real thing in Hollywood. They were going to make a Harriet Tubman movie in the early '90s, and they wanted Julia Roberts to play Harriet Tubman.
Oh,
and
no.
Yeah, and like that was a thing. So
that's
crazy. Yeah. So when my thing came out, it was a straight up reaction. And I think people thought, oh, this is something. I got kind of mad because someone was like, this is something a white person would make. And I was like, what? But like someone said that in the comments. But then I think like I said, hey, I'm the creator, black man. And people were still kind of mad anyway. And I'm like, I promise when the book comes out, it will honor this woman and her journey. I don't want to make a book that trivializes what this woman went through and all the sacrifice that she went through. But I also don't want to make her like a god either. I want to make a person, a human being who had like real life experiences, because this is what makes her ultimate. This is what makes her a hero, is that she's a human being going through this and still not giving up. And also biographies that only say good things about a person is boring to me. So there's one thing about this kid in the comments, I think on Facebook, he's like, oh, yeah, all y'all tripping. Seeing this made me want to look up what really happened to Harriet Tubman. And I think this is dope. I think everyone is tripping in these comments. David, keep doing you and keep trading. And I was like, damn, I was like, thank you, Leroy Jenkins from Baltimore, Maryland. I was like, thank you, so I was just like, yeah. And I think one person told me a story that I'm gonna put in the comic.
Names though, I hate to cut you off, but my producer here, he just sent me a message. He wants to know, is this series going to be on Audible?
It is not going to be on Audible. It's on Comixology. It's which owned by Amazon.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not going to be on Audible. I don't think, because I don't think they do Audibles of comic books.
Okay, that's fair. I know.
What's it called? But what was I saying? But yeah, no.
You were talking about the kid with the comments. Just talking about you to keep doing it and keep motivating you just to make these better issues. I kind of got where you left off, brother. Sorry about that.
Yeah, no, you're fine. You're fine. No, this awesome woman, she said, hey, like I looked up Harriet Tubman and did some reading on her biography, and I found this great story about when her identity leaked and everyone knew all about her. And in the wanted sign, it says that she can't read, but they have her description that she's short, dark skin, and these like white bounty hunters like look at her and they see her, and she's like out. I think she's outside of like. I think they saw her like outside of either. It was like a saloon type of thing, and they saw this black woman. They're like, "Is that Harriet Tubman?" And they're like, "All right, like let's get her." And Harriet Tubman overheard this, so Harriet Tubman pulled out a book and like started reading it. And they're like, "Okay, that's not her because Harriet Tubman can't read." And it was hilarious because Harriet Tubman, I think someone that she was with who was helping her out was like, "Yeah, you have the book upside down." Like because she can't read, so she just had the book upside down and was just like reading it, like reading it. And I'm like, oh, I kind of like that story. And just also just finding out about like her having a sense of humor is something that's kind of been my like North Star with writing her, because everything that's been presented to us with Harriet Tubman is like nothing was funny. She was serious. She was a hardcore serious black woman. And I'm like, you'd be a hardcore serious person 24/7. All right. Like you are a human being. We are not long suffering people. Black people, we go through a lot. We've been through so much, but we're not like long suffering people. That's not who we are. I think because of everything we've gone through, like we have to make jokes. Like I don't think like look at Black Twitter. like there's a new variant that is killing people, and Black Twitter was like, what they call the Omarion virus, the Omarion variant. That's what Black people do. Because it just absolves
Black Twitter and all that. What have been some of the talks? Because I know you've been going to all these Comic Cons, and I know you recently just went to Anime NYC. What have been some of those talks with just black creatives and just different other Black people going into this industry? What conversations have you had that have been inspiring to you?
One thing is saying that, okay, I don't. Well, this isn't from a Black comic book person, but it was someone who was there. Stephen McKinley Henderson. He's a playwright and he's also an actor.
Right.
He said something like, I don't need to have my way, but I will have my say. And just kind of being anti-drama when it comes to like how we deal with each other, and also like, hey, like let's deal internally. If we have problems or we have disagreements, let's not outwardly bash each other because it's already hard enough.
Right.
And, also taking time to rest, because like one thing is, and I've noticed this with all Black creatives, we are really about our work. We are really about our hustle. We're really about like, I'm out there. I'm making this. I'm making that. But like, we think our power is in our work, but our real power is in our rest. Right. And taking time to unplug it, because sometimes we're like, oh, like that's lazy if I sleep in a little bit, or like, that's lazy if I rest. It's like, no, you need to rest so you can like come back and like do this stuff. Like I am a big proponent of nap time ministry, and like taking time to rest and taking time to recharge batteries, so yeah, I think that was the biggest one, is taking time to rest and recover.
Of course, man.
Yeah.
Last thing you want is writer's block, especially when it comes to an amazing series like this. I know you mentioned Abraham Lincoln a little bit earlier in this broadcast. There is a comic called Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter. Will those two worlds collide if you had, just any concept or saying to that?
Abraham Lincoln and Harriet Tubman are going to meet. They're not. they're definitely. I don't know if it's going to be that version of Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter, but like Harriet Tubman and Abraham Lincoln are going to meet. They're not going to like each other, because Abraham Lincoln again was not that great.
I agree.
Like,
I agree.
This is not going to be the Steven Spielberg version of Abraham Lincoln. This is not even going to be the Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter of Abraham Lincoln. When I set out to make this, I'm like, I'm making a direct adaptation, a straight up biography, as much as I can of this, and keep it kinetic and keep the storytelling moving. But like, vampires are just there, she just knows martial arts. How else is she going to express herself in this way? Like not much has changed. She just knows martial arts and vampires exist, everybody. It ain't that deep. And just keeping it moving and keeping it grounded. And and again, Abraham Lincoln, like he is going to be in the comic. I mean, he's going to be in the comic.
That's Maybe. Great to hear on WNHH LP 103.5 FM New Haven. Myself, Prestige, with a great entrepreneur himself, comic book creator, David Crownson, is with us on Behind the Brand. David, any other ideas you had besides Harriet Tubman just coming into this? I know you're currently working on the project now. You said there's going to be at least over 200 issues of this topic. But any other ideas stirring in your head that you just want to give out to the audience? But if you want to keep it to yourself, I deeply understand that.
Wait, so you mean like other like upcoming projects?
Yeah.
Or...
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, of course. What's it called? I am most recently I signed like a TV development deal, and I partnered with Prentice Penny.
Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you to make Harriet Tubman Demon Slayer TV show.
Nice. All right.
Prentice Penny, for anyone who doesn't know, he's the showrunner and co-writer and director of the series Insecure on HBO, and wrote and directed Uncorked for Netflix. And he was just like, hey, like, I'm a fan of the comic. I want to like see about developing it into a TV series. What do you think? And I was like, of course. And not just because like, oh, I want my thing to be a TV show. It's like, oh, like I love how he tells stories, and I love that like, you know, we're fully emotionally invested in all of his characters emotionally. So I'm like, oh, like us being emotionally invested in these in your story, and there's action in it and vampires and demons. Yes, please sign me up. So I have that going on. We're kind of like in the very early stages of just like you know, developing it. So very early stages, and I'm really excited. I love it. I love his work, and I even love his notes and ideas. All I can say is the show's going to be live action. It's not going to be. At first, I was like, "Oh, what if it's animated?" And he's like, "This is why it needs to be live action." And then he just began to like list out, and I'm like, wow, this dude's a genius. And like he wasn't like trying like one great thing that I love about Prent is I never get the air of someone's talking down to me. I always feel like someone's talking to me, and he's an amazing teacher as well. Because you know, sometimes you might hear like, oh, like it's a big Hollywood person, they can kind of like crap on you and, you know, talk all this nonsense to you, and there's never been that air, you know. So yeah, like I'm really excited about that. And my next comic book series is Nightmare in Newark, which I'm really excited about. It's about a girl who's coming out to her family. And in the middle of her, like, you know, she has lots of anxiety about coming out to her family because, you know, for Black people, coming out is a totally different experience. So while she's coming out to her family, an alien invasion like erupts in her town. So yeah, she has to like survive this alien invasion and come out to her family. Yeah, it's called Nightmare in Newark, and Brett Parson is the artist on it, and he's killing it. I think you can probably find it on my page somewhere. We pushed the Kickstarter for that back because I'm like, I got busy with doing Harriet as a show, and I was, you know, on a book tour, and like I couldn't do everything at the same time. Some things I gotta push back. So it's gonna actually, we're gonna do a Kickstarter for that in February. And I'm really excited about that because it's totally different from Harriet and Demon Slayer, like tonally, and also look wise, it's very different from Harriet. So like that kind of like allowed me to kind of do things differently, and just kind of challenge myself. It's also a modern day thing. It takes place, you know, it takes place in like 2022.
Wow.
And so I'm really excited about that. And like, and again, it's like 2022 Newark, New Jersey, and you know, Harriet Tubman Demon Slayer is, you know, 1860 South Carolina. So it's like a healthy balance of differences. Like we're in the South 1800s, we're in the East Coast, the great Northeast Coast, you know, in like, you know, present day. So
and what I love about it is there's so many avenues you can go with this. So many avenues with the alien invasion in the South, with her situation, what's going inside her head. Will she just not say anything and protect her family? There's so many ways you can just go with this within this new project. I'm really excited. I'm happy for this, man. I really am, bro.
Thank you, man. Yeah, it's like it's basically, it's going to be like Cloverfield, but with Black people, or like worlds, but with like how would like black people like react, because we're never in these stories, we're never like the lead in these stories, or if we are, we're like superheroes.
It's crazy because I'm happy that you mentioned Cloverfield, because it was in New York. So much diversity in New York City. You just want to just focus on one race. That was crazy to me.
Yeah. There was like one black woman, which is great. Like
New York City, all diversity, so much culture in New York City in Cloverfield with an alien invasion. You just want to focus on one race. I'm happy you mentioned that. I really am.
Like the cover for Nightmare in Newark has like the main cast in it, and like when I was writing it, I wasn't like thinking like I must make diversity. I'm like okay, like who do I know, like organically, who do I know who's like these characters? And I'm like, we got 2 black people, we have 1 Asian woman, and 1 white man, and like these are people that these people live in buildings and apartment buildings in not just in Newark, but in Jersey City and New York City and Brooklyn, Queens, the Bronx. Like it's a rainbow coalition of human beings who are having this experience, who have like a similar experience to it, like what if like you're in the middle of an alien invasion, you get tired and you're like, oh crap, like I'm diabetic and I left my insulin back in place. Like we got to go back and get my insulin. What? Like that's a thing. We need to get insulin because I have diabetes, and I could die. He's like, well, you could die from this alien invasion. So like that's like a funny thing that happens. Put
a little bit of realism into it though, because there's so many. What about a person with cancer? Where is he gonna get his chemo if like all the hospitals around him have been destroyed just with the whole invasion going on? There's so many narratives you can just go with this. So like, I'm for it, brother. I'm for it. I really am.
It's gonna be fun, and like we're on again very early process of it. Like I think the first it's gonna be 7 issues, and Brett is drawing like the first 25 pages of it. And I'm still like writing and reworking dialogue, and I'm like, man, I'm having a good time writing this. And thankfully, like my editor, I want her to like be really close on this. This is the closest we've worked on something together. And she's just like, hey, like this is good. This is good. What if this was different? Change this, do this, and like we're just having a great time with it. And I think it's going to be right now. I think it's my best work. And I think it's not to say like, oh, I hate Harriet Tubman Demon Slayer, because I've grown a lot since doing like the first issue back in like 2016. Like a lot has happened, and a lot of things had to happen for me to grow and change. And still kind of going into this comic book, doing a lot of research, because like I'm a straight black man. I don't have that experience of being like queer or coming out to my family or having to really confess anything. So I had to like interview a lot of queer black people to like get their experience and really get emotionally underneath it, because that's a sensitivity that I lack as or not even a sensitivity and experience that I don't have. So I need that, even though like I know it's a silly thing, aliens and all that stuff are going to happen, but for us to care about these people, we got to get grounded in the human experience.
I totally agree, but time is just running so thin. It usually happens every time we get on for this show. The guest gets going. The guest has all these interesting topics to say, but we're just running really thin within the broadcast. So these last couple minutes, I just want to give it to you. Retell people about how to get into Kingwood Comics. Retell people about where to go to find where to purchase your product for Harriet Tubman Demon Slayer, and just give a little inspirational advice for the end. So these last 3 to 4 minutes, brother, are yours. Go right ahead, David.
Okay. To get Harriet Tubman Demon Slayer, go to kingwoodcomics.com, and you can pre-order all physical copies of the book. You can also pre-order the 200-page graphic novel. What else? Yeah, you can go to Kingwood. You can also follow us on social media at Harriet Tubman _ Demon Slayer. You can also follow me personally at D Crownson for all announcements and cool stuff. Look out for more cool stuff with Harriet Tubman Demon Slayer being a TV show. Prentice Penny's involvement coming down the line probably sometime. Well, there will be more announcements like in 2022. What else? As far as like, if you're a creative person and you're trying to get your stuff out there for more people to see, it's a journey. It is a marathon, not a sprint. Like, don't say, yo, if I don't make it in 3 months, I quit. No, that is not the move. I got this idea in 2015. 2015, it was just an idea. And now it's 2021 and it's going to be a show. Like it was a journey, everybody. That was like what, 6-7 years more of like it germinating and kind of having to come out. Like even Nightmare in Newark, it went through a bunch of different titles before I settled on Nightmare in Newark. I knew that was going to take place in a city. So take your time, be gentle with yourself, be easy with yourself. Don't do this just for money, because it is slow when it comes to money. If you have to have a survival job or like a job that pays you, make sure it's a job that's healthy, that where they treat you right, or a job where you don't hate yourself when you wake up to go to it. Make sure to surround yourself with people who are team you. Surround yourself with things that are creative and bring you bliss. It's not always going to be easy. It's a hard journey. It's not easy at all. It's very hard. Also take care of your mental health. Like if you can afford therapy, if you got the insurance for therapy, please do it. There's also like if you need it, like free therapy, they have, I forget the website for it. A friend of mine sent it to me because like I can't afford my therapist. Right. But yeah, just take care of your mental health. Try to take care of your physical health and exercise. Push out, release anyone that is toxic in your life. That doesn't add anything. And by add anything, I don't mean like, oh, like they buy me things or they do this. Like they make you laugh, they make you smile. You're
making me smile right now, David. I need to get you back on for the next year to learn more about you, more about your products. I think we just got the frosting on the cake. I'm giving the Apollo curtain from my producer, Harry. Thank you so much, brother, and I really appreciate your time. And thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you for having me.
No doubt, brother. On WNHA, LP 103.5 FM, David, Prestige, and Behind the Brand. Thank you so much, brother.
Thank you.
Wondering what to write about, trying to figure out what it's all about. Existentialist, am I worth anything or just discount? I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. Spending time all alone, sending my songs through the phone, dreaming of a better home, while focused on trying to hone this craft, witchcraft. I hope the Bluez let this last.
I don't know if the earth is painted